You think your smartphone is a weapon for democracy? Well, prepare to be disappointed, because you're totally wrong. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely dismantle a massive modern illusion about technology and society. Let's just jump right in.
We all love to romanticize events like the Arab Spring, right? We credit viral videos and mobile phones for bringing down these massive, entrenched governments. And honestly, it feels incredibly empowering to think that the little device in your pocket is some sort of magic wand for freedom. It definitely makes a great headline. But as we're about to see, the actual science doesn't care about flashy headlines, because the numbers deliver a pretty hard slap in the face. Here's the counterintuitive reality. Phones don't cause protests at all. If you give millions of people mobile phones during an economic boom, absolute silence. It has zero effect on political mobilization. Look at this massive 15-year data set. We're tracking the African continent literally turning red with mobile coverage, jumping from just under 9% to a whopping 64%. Hundreds of millions of people suddenly getting connected. Now, if the myth were true, this should be a glowing heat map for constant, unstoppable revolution. But it really isn't.
The media absolutely loves the liberation technology narrative. They always point to the 2010 Arab Spring in Tunisia and Egypt. They point to viral videos exposing corruption, or the 2007 and 2008 food riots in Mozambique and Senegal that were actually organized by text message. And yeah, it makes for highly emotional, captivating storytelling. But this narrative completely misdiagnoses the actual underlying disease.
Here is the brutal truth. Technology doesn't start the fire. Empty wallets do. People do not risk their lives, face down riot police, and topple governments just because they got a strong 3G signal. They do it because they are economically desperate. Plummeting GDP, empty wallets, growling stomachs, that is your real trigger.
In fact, mass mobilization is almost perfectly counter-cyclical to the economy. When GDP drops, protests absolutely skyrocket. The phones were already sitting there in their pockets. It was the sudden economic shock that actually lit the fuse.
But any good skeptic would ask, how do we know the phones are actually acting as a catalyst during these recessions? Is it just a coincidence? Do wealthier areas just happen to have more phones and also more protests? How do we definitively separate correlation from actual causation here? Well, the researchers had to get incredibly creative.
To prove causation, they used a brilliant, almost mind-blowing detective method. They tracked lightning strikes. Think of it as nature's EMP. Lightning regularly fries cell towers on the ground, creating these completely random data blind spots. And guess what happens? In areas where lightning kills the network during a recession, protests magically plummet.
And Africa happens to have the highest lightning density on Earth, with 17.3 strikes per square kilometer every single year. It is basically a flawless natural experiment proving without a shadow of a doubt that network outages actively deflate protests.
Section 2. The domino effect. Why recessions plus phones equal protests.
Okay, let's dive right into exactly why this economic pain combined with mobile networks creates such a volatile reaction. It really boils down to two key mechanisms. First, unfiltered information. The state-run media might be lying, saying the economy is great, but your phone shows you the true crash. Second, coordination. Look, protesting alone is essentially suicide, but getting a text confirming that thousands of your neighbors are actually going to show up too, that gives you the courage to act.
This dynamic is brilliantly illustrated by what happened in 2008. Look at Senegal and Mali, two bordering countries that faced the exact same devastating 12% spike in food prices, the exact same economic shock, but Senegal had 74% mobile coverage, and they saw massive riots. Mali only had 7% coverage and nothing. Economic pain is the fuel, but the network is the spark.
Yet look at the flip side of this data. If the economy is booming, all that enhanced mobile coordination leads to absolutely zero extra protests. People are still texting, sure, but not about overthrowing the government. When wallets are full, the appetite for revolution just simply vanishes. Section 3. Data blind spots. The skeptic's lens.
Now, what's really interesting about this explainer is that we have to objectively look at the flaws in this massive data operation. Because science requires skepticism, right? Relying on AI text analysis systems like GDALT creates massive false positives because AI often misunderstands context. On the flip side, relying on humans to manually code data for systems like ACE-LED completely misses smaller local events due to obvious human limitations. The data is powerful for sure, but it is definitely not bulletproof.
Furthermore, we really have to acknowledge the era of this study. It focuses strictly on the 2G SMS era. It entirely misses the modern complexities of 4G, social media, algorithmic rage bait, and deepfakes. I mean, texting your neighbor to meet at the town square is fundamentally different from a global algorithm intentionally feeding you outrage.
And we absolutely have to acknowledge the dark side here. State control. Governments often own the very infrastructure these signals travel on. They can flip the kill switch instantly. Even worse, the digital footprints of these supposed liberation tools are incredibly easily weaponized, turning your phone into a highly effective surveillance tracker for the state.
So the crucial takeaway from this whole explainer is this. Technology doesn't create the fire, it only fans the flames. It's just an accelerant. It is 100% reliant on the underlying fuel of actual human struggle and economic suffering. We love to give the phones all the credit, but at the end of the day, the people bear the cost.
Which leaves us with a pretty haunting question to rethink our entire digital world. If the grand narrative of liberation technology is mostly an illusion, look at the device in your hand right now. What else are we blaming technology for today that is actually just plain, undeniable human nature?